Welcome back, dear listeners, to another story filled with wisdom and life lessons. Today, I bring you a tale set in the vast savannah, where the king of the jungle, a mighty lion, faces an unexpected challenge that threatens to strip away his power and influence. It's a story about losing one's greatest strength and finding new ways to lead and inspire, even when things don't go as planned. It reminds us that true leadership is not about wielding power or control, but about setting an example of resilience, courage, and perseverance. As you listen, I encourage you to reflect on the moments in your life when you've had to find new strengths and how you've adapted when the things you once relied on were no longer available to you. In the heart of the sprawling savannah, where golden grasses stretched as far as the eye could see and the sky arched high and blue above, there lived a great lion named Kavi. Kavi was no ordinary lion. He was the leader of his pride, a powerful king known throughout the land for his strength, wisdom, and, above all, his thunderous roar. Kavi's roar was his most prized possession. It could be heard from miles away, echoing across the plains and sending a shiver through the hearts of all who heard it. It was a roar that announced his presence, that established his dominance, and that reassured his pride that they were under the protection of a mighty and capable leader. With a single roar, he could call his pride to order, warn off intruders, and communicate his strength and authority to all who dwelled in the savannah. For years, Kavi ruled his territory with fairness and grace. His pride flourished under his leadership. They thrived, hunting together, raising their cubs, and living in harmony with the other creatures of the plains. Kavi was proud of his pride and proud of his role as their leader. He knew that his roar was a key part of what made him an effective ruler. It was his way of asserting his presence, of keeping order and protecting those he loved. But one year, as the seasons shifted and the rains came late, bringing with them unexpected hardship, something strange began to happen. Kavi noticed that his roar, which had always been so strong and powerful, began to weaken. At first, it was barely noticeable, a slight strain in his voice, a little less power behind the sound. But as the days went by, his roar grew softer and softer, until one morning, when he opened his mouth to greet the dawn, no sound came out at all. Panic surged through Kavi as he tried again and again to roar, but it was no use. His voice was gone. The mighty roar that had once echoed across the plains was now nothing more than a hollow silence. Kavi's heart sank as he realized what this meant. Without his roar, how could he lead? How could he command respect and keep his pride safe? How could he maintain order if he could not even make his presence known? Kavi's pride sensed that something was wrong. They looked to him for guidance, their eyes filled with confusion and concern. The younger lions whispered among themselves, wondering what had happened to their leader's voice. The older members of the pride watched him with worried expressions, unsure of what this change would mean for their future. In the days that followed, Kavi struggled to come to terms with his loss. He tried everything he could think of to regain his roar. He drank from the cool waters of the river, hoping they would soothe his throat. He rested in the shade of the acacia trees, trying to conserve his energy. He even sought out the advice of other animals, an old elephant, a wise owl, and a clever fox, all of whom suggested remedies and rituals that might restore his voice. But nothing worked. His roar, the symbol of his power and strength, was gone. Without his roar, Kavi felt lost. He wandered the savannah, his mind a whirlwind of doubt and fear. How could he lead his pride when he couldn't even communicate properly? What if another lion challenged him for leadership? What if he lost everything he had worked so hard to build? One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Kavi found himself alone on a hill overlooking the plains. He gazed out at the land he had sworn to protect, his heart heavy with uncertainty. Just as he was about to turn away, a voice spoke softly behind him. "You look troubled, Kavi." Kavi turned to see one of the elder lionesses of his pride approaching. Her name was Nia, and she had been with the pride since before Kavi had become its leader. She was wise and experienced, known for her keen insights and gentle demeanor. "I have lost my roar, Nia," Kavi said quietly, his shoulders slumping. "Without it, I don't know how to lead. The pride needs a strong leader, someone they can hear and follow. How can I be that leader if I cannot even roar?" Nia sat beside him, her eyes soft and understanding. "Your roar is only one part of who you are, Kavi. It may be gone for now, but it does not take away your wisdom, your courage, or your heart. You have always led us not just with your voice, but with your actions." Kavi shook his head. "But how can I protect the pride? How can I keep order and warn off intruders? Without my roar, I am vulnerable. The pride is vulnerable. Nia was silent for a moment, then she said gently, there are many ways to lead, Kavi. Your roar was one of them, but it was not the only one. You can lead by example, by showing your strength through your actions. You can guide us with your wisdom, teach us with your experience, and support us with your presence. A leader's true strength is not in their voice, but in their character. Kavi listened to her words, his heart aching. He wanted to believe her, but he couldn't shake the feeling of inadequacy that gripped him. How could he be a true leader without his roar? But as he looked into Nia's eyes, he saw only faith and trust. She believed in him, even when he didn't believe in himself. Taking a deep breath, Kavi nodded slowly. I will try, he said quietly. I will try to lead in other ways. Over the next few weeks, Kavi put Nia's advice into practice. He began to focus on leading through his actions rather than his voice. He spent more time with the pride, patrolling their territory and keeping watch over the vulnerable members. He led the hounds, showing the younger lions how to stalk and pounce with precision. He helped care for the cubs, teaching them how to navigate the savannah and stay safe from predators. The pride, initially unsure of how to react to their leader's silence, began to adapt. They saw how Kavi's determination remained strong, how his courage never wavered, even in the face of his own limitations. They watched as he continued to protect them, to guide them, and to support them in every way he could. Slowly, their confusion and concern turned into admiration and respect. One day, as Kavi was leading the pride on a patrol, they came across a pack of hyenas scavenging near the edge of their territory. In the past, Kavi would have let out a fierce roar to scare them off. But now, without his voice, he stood silently, assessing the situation. The hyenas, sensing an opportunity, began to advance, their mocking laughter filling the air. They knew Kavi could no longer roar, and they assumed this meant he was weak, that the pride would no longer be able to defend their territory. But Kavi did not back down. He stepped forward, his gaze steady and unflinching. With a powerful stride, he moved toward the hyenas, his muscles rippling beneath his fur. The pride followed his lead, forming a solid line behind him, their eyes blazing with resolve. Kavi lowered his head, baring his teeth in a silent snarl. The hyenas hesitated, their laughter faltering. They had expected the lions to be disorganized, unsure, without their leader's roar to rally them. But what they saw instead was a pride united, standing firm beside their leader. Kavi took another step forward, and the hyenas, unnerved by the silent display of strength, began to back away. They yipped and growled, but they did not advance. With one final, defiant stare, Kavi turned his back on the retreating pack, signaling to his pride to continue their patrol. The younger lions looked at each other in awe. They had never seen Kavi like this before, so silent, yet so powerful. He had not needed to roar to show his strength. His presence alone had been enough to drive off the threat. From that day on, Kavi's pride no longer saw his silence as a weakness. They understood now that leadership was about more than just sound, it was about action, about presence, about showing strength and resilience in every aspect of life. Kavi's silence, instead of diminishing him, had made him a more thoughtful, more deliberate leader. The pride thrived under his guidance. They became more cohesive, more disciplined, working together as a unified group. Kavi continued to lead by example, teaching them that true power came not from the ability to roar, but from the ability to adapt and grow in the face of adversity. As the months passed, word of Kavi's leadership spread across the savannah. Other animals began to notice how his pride had grown stronger despite his loss. They spoke of the lion who led without a roar, who commanded respect through his actions alone. Kavi became a symbol of resilience, of finding new ways to lead when old strengths were no longer available. One evening, as the sun set over the plains, Nia approached Kavi once more. "You have done it, Kavi," she said softly. "You have shown us all what true leadership looks like." Kavi dipped his head, a deep sense of gratitude filling his heart. "I could not have done it without your wisdom, Nia. You helped me see that losing my roar was not the end, but the beginning of a new way to lead." Nia smiled. "You found the strength within yourself, Kavi. I only helped you see it." As the pride gathered around them, basking in the warm glow of the setting sun, Kavi felt a peace settle over him. He had lost his roar, but he had found something even more valuable, a deeper understanding of what it meant to lead, to protect, and to inspire. He had discovered that his greatest strength was not his voice, but his heart. And so, Kavi continued to lead his pride, not with the sound of his roar, but with the strength of his example. He showed them how to stand tall in the face of adversity, how to adapt when life threw challenges their way, and how to find new ways to shine when old ones faded. Because true leadership is not about the loudness of your voice, it's about the steadiness of your spirit. It's about being there for those who rely on you, even when you feel less than whole. And it's about finding new ways to be strong, even when the world thinks you are weak. Thank you for joining me in this story of the lion who lost his roar. If this tale resonated with you, if it reminded you of times when you had to find new strengths and ways to lead, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's celebrate the power of resilience and the courage it takes to lead through example, even when our greatest strength falters. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories that inspire, uplift, and remind us all of the strength we carry within.